It's John Pollock and Jimmy Korderas. This is our WWE Money in the Bank preview. It is coming up this Sunday night from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, as the WWE will get the venue set for Brock Lesnar's return to the UFC a few weeks later when he takes on Mark Hunt in the very same building.
By having an event that could be WrestleMania. With all these big matches.
Man, could you imagine if they put a ladder in there with Mark Hunt and Brock Lesnar?
Oh, Mark Hunt would just punch it out.
You know, if Sunday is Money in the Bank, then July the 9th for the WWE could be the withdrawal of lots of money that they have set aside in the bank for Brock Lesnar.
Well, it could be like the stock market crash of, 29 or whatever, Black October in 2010, whenever it was. I don't know.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Could be Brocktober.
Brocktober? Oh, see, again.
That is hardly an original.
No, but still. But still.
Well, we're going to be chatting about Money in the Bank, which will not feature Brock Lesnar on Sunday. But I think, Jimmy, in terms of the three main matches, I can't imagine this being a disappointing show. I think you look at the two big singles matches, which have been hammered over our head as being WrestleMania worthy, and then the Money in the Bank ladder match. I mean, these three matches on their own, this to me carries the show. These are the three matches everyone is focused on. We have an undercard that is what it is, but it's those three matches that I'm looking forward to all three of them.
Yeah, me too. I mean, especially the AJ Styles John Cena match, of course, the quote-unquote dream match, 15 years in the making. I don't know. 15 years. I don't know about that, but still, it's very interesting because we saw on Monday, especially during the contract signing the week before, the interaction on the microphone between both guys, walking that line between what is perceived to be going on backstage and how John Cena is perceived, trying to get a little inside baseball, shall we say.
Was not a fan of it myself.
I get why they do it. It appeals to that segment of the audience who thinks they are in the know from reading whatever they happen to be reading online. You're not a big fan of it. I get kind of like a weird kick out of it because I think
I didn't care so much about the burial thing, whatever.
Yeah.
To me, I had more of an issue with the whole AJ's been a bust since he's gotten here. He can't cut it in the WWE. That is promo 101, is that you never degrade your opponent to such a degree that you either lose to a nothing or you've beat a guy that's a bust. You want to build your opponent up, and that promo did not do that to me. For AJ had a fine performance on the microphone that night, but to me, the takeaway of that promo was this guy who we have just seen headline pay-per-views with Roman Reigns has been categorized as a bust. So why am I looking forward to this match involving this big figure in John Cena and the guy he categorized as a bust? I'm like, this is not building the match up. And you saw a very different approach to their contract signing, and that word was not brought up, and it was very much the WWE, for whatever reason, had not seen the talents of this guy. He should have been here a long time ago, and this is a dream match on Sunday.
Yeah, I think that approach is a lot better, and you're talking about promo 101. That's true, and especially coming from the supposed babyface in this, which makes absolutely no sense, because even a heel, when cutting a promo against someone else, doesn't really refer to them as nothing, will build them up, but then say, you may be good, but I'm great. I'm better. That's the way a heel would do it. The way John Cena did it 2 Mondays ago, I agree. That was not the good approach if you want to build up your opponent and make it seem like you're beating someone.
It would be like the Pittsburgh Penguins facing the Toronto Maple Leafs and trying to make it seem like a dream match when really the Toronto Maple Leafs are a bust.
Well, with Phil Kessel on Pittsburgh, it would be interesting. So
yes, we're not going to get into Phil Kessel discussion.
No.
But I'm happy for that guy.
Yeah, you know what? I'm happy for anybody who wins the cup. I don't care. I have no skin in the game. I'm not a fan of either team. So
no Torontonians have had skin in the game for a long time.
Yeah, for like 50 years.
Springtime.
50 years. Well, I kind of feel bad for Jumbo Joe because that beard, was growing in pretty thick. So
we got our conference finals. Every so often, we get a little run, but it's been a while. Yeah. All right, back to Money in the Bank. Let's start actually with John Cena, AJ Styles. I feel AJ Styles has to win this first match. I think it's going to be a multi-match program involving these two. This could take them through the summer, in my opinion, and I feel it will be fresh. But this first match, I think it's really important. The way it's been built up, I think you you drastically affect the legs of this program if John Cena were to win this match.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think either AJ Styles needs to win this in somewhat convincing fashion, kind of like Del Rio did when he returned, or even
Owens.
Kevin Owens when he had his first match with John Cena. If that is not the scenario that's going to happen on Sunday, I am okay with there being a sort of a non-finish, as long as it's not John Cena beating AJ Styles and kind of reaffirming the fact that he doesn't belong in the WWE. If you know what I mean. Obviously, he does. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying from a storyline standpoint.
I think the way it was set up, though, on Monday, with the way the contracts were presented, and you were essentially told this match, you are getting a clean match. There will be no run-ins because that is how it's been set up. I almost feel in this match, because Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins could be that non-finish, I think you do need a definitive winner in this first match because of the way it's been built up in the dream match scenario. And I don't think that affects this program moving forward either. I think AJ winning, there's a natural reason for the rematch, if not a few of them. Like, this could carry them through SummerSlam. I think they're going to have a tremendous match on Sunday, but it's certainly, to me, for the longevity of this program, I think it's fairly obvious AJ should win this match. Doesn't always mean he will.
No, of course not. You never say never in the WWE, as they always say, but you're right. It does make more sense for AJ to come out of this match, looking really strong and beating John Cena.
The return of Seth Rollins and his character have been heavily debated. You had this great babyface story on your hands, which we did see on the 24 special, but they have their key babyfaces in place. Mm-hmm. Seth Rollins was not in their plans to be a top babyface, and instead the heel side needed him, and that's the role he's in right now. How have they handled the return of Seth Rollins in your estimation, just a couple weeks since we saw him return?
I think it's interesting because Seth Rollins has the ability, even though, like you said, with that WWE 24 special and coming back and getting that natural babyface reaction upon returning from injury, he's been very good at being slowly able to turn the crowd against him, despite the fact that he is that segment of the audience a fan favorite for them. I think he's done a great job at being a heel. But again, there's that stigma with Roman Reigns where people are going to boo him regardless. So I think adding Dean Ambrose into the mix like they did on Monday, whether you like that segment or not, the interactions between the two, they're kind of at least laying the groundwork for more options going forward. And to your point earlier where you said that there may be a non-finish factor in this World Heavyweight Championship match, maybe Dean Ambrose is that wild card in that match, which causes it to become a non-finish or a disputed finish or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, I think you look back as well, this return to Rollins, the natural comparison would be how they handled Hunter's return in 2001, the first quad tear, and perhaps the peak of Hunter's popularity, coming back in the fashion he did at Madison Square Garden, and it was a really well put together comeback plan that they had for him. And you have to remember the circumstances at that time, not all that different from what they had with Rollins and Reigns here, in that you had turned Steve Austin at this point. He was a heel when Hunter got hurt, and you could see it was the opposite of Reigns. It was this crowd wanted to cheer Austin, but they were adamant of him being a heel. And part of that was the match they wanted to get to after Hunter was injured was they knew this guy has to come back as a babyface from this. This is a great story, and Austin needs to be that heel. It fits into the story. They were the tag partners. But they realized as the invasion ended, it's just Steve Austin is a better babyface. Business-wise, the audience wants him to be a babyface, and they gave up those plans, and they flipped Austin back, and then it was Jericho that got the heel role with Hunter at WrestleMania. They changed course in that time period, even though it was their long-term plan, and Hunter still came back a massive babyface. But at the time, it was Hunter that wanted the Austin program at WrestleMania. Right. That was the idea for the Skydome. Today, you had a great option of Rollins coming back as this huge babyface. And the question would he be a more effective babyface, and would Reigns be a more effective heel? And you could certainly argue that point.
Absolutely.
I mean, Reigns as a babyface is not lighting the world on fire. That said, I feel this match is going to be great on Sunday. I think these two are going to work really hard. And I think the way to get out of this is the story going in is Reigns has never been able to beat Rollins, and I think you want to keep that, whether it's a non-finish or even the slight chance that you decide to pull the trigger and Rollins wins. Right. I think you should come out of this with Reigns still is chasing that win over Rollins.
Yeah, that's a very interesting scenario. And going back to your point about, maybe switching Roman Reigns heel, I could see Roman Reigns excel as a heel. I think Seth Rollins, to me, just as my own personal feeling, is that he works better as a heel. He could be an effective babyface, but the proper positioning of him as a babyface hasn't been put in place yet.
You're going to tell me, Jimmy, that Seth Rollins, under anesthesia, cutting a promo in his hospital bed, does not scream babyface to you?
Well, I guess.
That was one of the great promos of the year.
Yeah, but they haven't positioned him yet for that babyface role. There's still so many pieces that need to be plugged in for him to pull the trigger for him to be a babyface. But still, when I watch him and I see his demeanor and I see his that cocky attitude, I think to me that screams heel. But you can get that same thing from Roman Reigns. This new the guy thing, I think, works well in a heel role as opposed to a babyface role, and that's just me. But, yeah.
So this match in particular, I mean, where do you lean in terms of outcome here?
I still think Roman Reigns emerges from this as WWE champion. Like you said, there may be a non-finish here.
Title change, it's a very slight chance of it happening.
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, like you said, maybe Dean Ambrose has a say in this, comes in. I don't think he's going to be the Money in the Bank winner, which we'll get to in a few minutes. But I think he may have a say in this one.
So let's move to the ladder match. I think Monday, the big takeaway for me on Monday was positioning Dean Ambrose as being a very live contender in this match, as someone that it's another option to win this match. I would say Owens and Ambrose are kind of the two most are focusing on, which doesn't mean either one of them is going to win this. I look back to Sheamus last year, which made no sense that night, and I think in hindsight made little sense. I think last year's Money in the Bank was really not. It's always an opportunity to help elevate a guy, create a new star, and I think last year, look where Sheamus is today, look where he was a year ago, and I don't think he's made gains.
I think the idea behind last year was, okay, who can we put the Money in the Bank briefcase on? Because that was the time when the crowd turned on Roman Reigns, and he was getting that real bad negative reaction. Who could we put the Money in the Bank briefcase on that might be able to turn that crowd back in favor of Roman Reigns? Hey, let's put it on Sheamus. Nobody likes him. It still didn't work.
No. Yeah. I look at this lineup, Jimmy, and I don't have any inside knowledge on this, but I look at Alberto Del Rio, and I don't know what it is, but I will not be surprised in the least if Monday morning it's Alberto Del Rio that we are discussing as the winner of this match. I really don't believe Jericho, Zayn, or Cesaro are really I don't look at them as options winning this. I think it comes down to those three, and I don't know what it is about Del Rio, but maybe it's a little bit about Sheamus, that this represents possibly a rehab for Del Rio, someone they listen, they're splitting these brands, and I think also into consideration here is who needs this the most. Right. Owens is a great choice. He would be my choice, but he's also someone that I think has done tremendously well and has kept himself over just through his talking. Yeah. This guy is a phenomenal character. Winning the briefcase is great for him. It's not a killer if he doesn't win it. Ambrose, his stock has really cooled. Mm-hmm. He could use this. And Del Rio, if you are invested in this guy and you believe he can still be a top guy, he needs it too. Right. So I think those are the three I look at.
I would agree
and probably
with that.
In that order.
No, I would agree with that completely. And the fact, when you talk about who does the briefcase fit best with, I agree. It's Kevin Owens. He seems to be, but then again, you go back to that old argument, does the title make the person or the person make the title? There were so many superstars back in the day that didn't need a title to get over. And to your point, Kevin Owens doesn't need the briefcase to continue moving forward and progressing. Mm-hmm. I don't think he needs it that bad. Does it fit having him as the Money in the Bank briefcase holder? Absolutely. Del Rio, again, I'm just worried that it becomes another Sheamus thing. I get the whole reboot and restart and get his career jump-started again. I'm a big fan of Del Rio's work. I think he's really good.
I think he's underutilized. Yeah. I don't think he's been in a great role at all beyond that first night where they didn't capitalize at all off what should have been a big win, and we discussed it. They trivialized a John Cena loss, which should never happen. If AJ wins on Sunday, they are going to probably maximize that win. And Del Rio, they really didn't capitalize on that. No. And you've seen him, and I think so many people, they look at the fact, him and Sheamus, I think most people view them as guys that have been in that top mix. They have had the top titles. And the fact is, they were moved out of that picture. So it looks like just trying to hit the reset button on something that didn't click the first time. With Del Rio, though, when he did leave the company, and you saw him in Lucha Underground, and you saw him in Ring of Honor, that guy felt like a star in those two promotions outside of the WWE. So that tells me something about the way he's been handled in the WWE. I've not given up on Del Rio. I think in this brand split, he's someone you can still focus upon, but I don't think people will leave this one with a lot of optimism if he were to win on Sunday. I think there would be a lot of negativity.
Of course, it's that whole perception is reality thing. But when you talk about the Money in the Bank briefcase helping to elevate someone, it's almost like, again, it's Dean Ambrose is the guy who, if anybody needs a reset, it's him, especially after WrestleMania. That, you know, it was just a big letdown.
Look where he was in that we were both at that Roadblock event in Toronto, and the reactions he got, and the way in which he lost to Hunter on the Roadblock event, and then you thought that, well, he's going to have this incredible match with Brock Lesnar, and it's really going to make him even in defeat. And he lost that match, and it was an afterthought at WrestleMania, and it really has cooled him off, and he's just become this character that has so much less steam than he did a year ago. Absolutely. So I think you could certainly make that argument. And if they're going with this Shield feud into the summer, there's that argument as well with Ambrose. Then we have the undercard. Let's start off with the tag titles. We have Enzo and Cass, the Vaudevillains, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows taking on the champions, The New Day. I think the fact that they're pushing this whole London and Kendrick title reign that they're chasing, do you see any way that they drop the tag titles here?
Of course, there is a possibility. I mean, with all the vested interest with the club, I could see, if anybody, them. But I think too soon for a team like the Vaudevillains, or too soon for a team like Enzo and Cass. So
I feel the Vaudevillains are in this match to take the fall.
Probably, most likely. And yeah, I could see the New Day retaining and going on. And like you said, they don't mention anything on television just offhanded. There's a reason why they mention certain things. And they've mentioned the London Kendrick title reign for, I don't know how many weeks now. It's been a few weeks now that they've mentioned it. So maybe they come back.
Yeah, well, there's the natural.
Who knows? Maybe they bring London and Kendrick back to try and take the titles back from and keep their streak.
No, they got Kendrick in the Cruiserweight tournament, so they can dial up Paul London's, and perhaps we get the reunion. Test, but anyways. We'll find out. But in terms of the title reign, I mean, it's a natural story that they did with Charlotte and Nikki, that as you get closer and closer, you do the story where it's like this match, they have to win it, or they're not going to surpass the mark. But another story you can also do coming out of the draft is that you can make it clear that as tag champions, you won't be split up in the draft. You are a package deal. And there's that reason to defend your title, because if you lose those titles, you're individual entities that could be split up in the draft.
Right. That's an interesting take, too. I will say this, though. I'm going to go back to Monday. And I was very much looking forward to the verbal jousting between the New Day and Enzo and Cass. And what we got on Monday, other than the references to Kofi's
blowing mechanism
and Steph Curry's old man shoes.
And female massagers?
Yeah. I felt like it was a big letdown. I was watching an old episode of Three's Company with the double entendre with the trombone.
Oh, boy.
It was like, no. It didn't just, like, it cooled me off to the whole thing.
Someone had some ideas on Monday, and they were the ones that had to execute.
Yeah, well, looked good on paper. Sounded good on paper, but
I don't know if I had read that on paper that I would have. Wow, this is some revolutionary comedy. Rusev and Titus O'Neil for the United States title. I just feel this is it's a match. Yeah. I don't see a need for a happy Father's Day moment of Titus winning this title, and Rusev wins clean.
It almost feels like, this was like they assumed that with the 60-day suspension to Titus O'Neil on his return, he would get that. Yeah, he's back. Great. We put him in a program against Rusev, and nothing. And I'm not. Titus, I feel bad because Titus did nothing to get me invested in this match or this feud at all. At all. So.
It's just a match. I think when you get out of the 3 big matches, and maybe there's a bit of interest in the tag titles, but beyond that, this just to me feels like matches that are thrown together that are largely taking time and just filling out a show, which takes us to Charlotte and Dana Brooke against Natalya and Becky Lynch. This is just a stopgap to whether it's continuing the Charlotte and Natalya program or maybe going back to Becky. I think this ends with Charlotte getting pinned or Dana Brooke screwing up and she loses the fall. But I think more likely it's a way to have Charlotte lose as the champion but not lose her title, which we kind of saw on Monday with Paige as well, who's not involved in this at all.
Right, exactly. So I agree. I think it's the latter. I think it's Dana Brooke causes her team to lose, and we get the more friction there again. For all the build-up to the women's division and what was expected of it, that too has been a big letdown for me.
Then we have our kickoff matches, Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler. The feud that I feel can carry itself to WrestleMania next year, Jimmy. This could just be our kickoff program. In light of Ryback leaving television, these two have become the go-to kickoff stalwarts. I don't know how long this feud is going to go on. I thought it was done 2 months ago, but it's still going strong. And then we have Apollo Crews against Sheamus. Last year's Money in the Bank winner is going to be on the kickoff portion.
Of course. It's kind of like that. It's the Paul Orndorff syndrome. You the very first WrestleMania, you main event, and then the next year you're in the opening match in the 3-city.
Orndorff or King Kong Bundy from 2 to 3.
Yeah. Being in the main event against Hogan, then all of a sudden you're dropping elbows on little people.
Be careful about those main events with Hogan.
On little beavers.
So Money in the Bank on paper, I think this will be a very strong show, mainly for those 3 matches that we outlined. It would be very difficult for those matches to disappoint. And I think that Cena and Styles, they're going to get a ton of time, and it's going to be interesting. Do you see any chance that Reigns and Rollins doesn't go on last? Do you see any kind of circumstance where that wouldn't go on last? Because they positioned Cena and Styles as pretty much equal to the main event going into this.
Yeah, but again, you have to, in my opinion, that match has to be the last match. And it's going to get, AJ Styles, John Cena is going to get a similar crowd reaction as well as Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, where the apparent babyface is going to probably find a hostile crowd against him, pretty much. So, to me, the World Heavyweight Championship match should, I was going to say always, but it should, I guess there's special circumstances, but in this case, it should go on last. I mean, as important as AJ Styles and John Cena is, that has to go on maybe...
It's interesting when you look
at right before. It's going to be tough because if you put them on right before that match, you can burn out the crowd really quick, too.
Yeah, I mean, you have 3 big matches here that you want to lay out. I would imagine the ladder match goes on really early, if not opens the pay-per-view.
I would open.
And you certainly want to have that cloud over the main event, that the winner of the Money in the Bank could come out at the end of that title match. So I think for that reason alone, you would kind of bookend the show with those 2 matches.
I would think so.
Cena Styles can go in the middle at some point. And you're right. Whatever is sandwiched in the middle of the 2 big singles matches, that's going to be a tough one for the crowd.
Yeah, I kind of got a funny feeling the ladies may be there. Or maybe Rusev and Titus.
Happy Father's Day. All right, so that is our preview of the WWE's Money in the Bank show. It kicks off Sunday at 7 Eastern on the WWE Network. And then afterwards, tune in to The Law. You can listen live at liveaudiowrestling.com. We'll have a full rundown of the show with Dan Lavransky and Jason Agnew. He is Jimmy Korderas. I am John Pollock. And enjoy Money in the Bank.